I literally just woke up and I had a lot of dreams last night that I think are worth sharing. I know and I recognize that when I try to interpret my dreams, they're not always easy to follow. And I get that that can be frustrating. It's kind of frustrating for me sometimes. And I've been an intuitive my entire life, so I get it. And I'm sorry. There are a couple of you out here that are really good at this and have been kind of giving their insights as well. I have a rough idea as to what exactly it is that I need to say. So I'm going to try to make this as clear as I can. If you really want the details of the dream, I can tell you so that you can try and decipher it yourself. But yeah, last night on top of the last other 2 nights was interesting. I think there's going to be a big flood. I think this because in the last 3 days, there were three different occasions that were flood. There was one where an entire house was taken over by water, and we were trying to push the water out using brooms and mops and things. We were trying, like it was a lot of water, but we were trying to open up all the doors and windows and push it out, push it out. That was one dream. Then the next dream was that I was being taken away by a river that was flooding. And I ended up in a cave, and I had to wait for the water levels to come down before I could try and get out of the cave. But the problem is when I got out of the cave, like everything on the outside of the cave was just not there. And in my dream, it was like this big basin cave. So it wasn't like I was trying to hold my breath up or anything like that. I was just in this really big basin kind of area. But I had to wait for the water to go down to be able to leave and go out through this cave. And when I got out of there, it wasn't the same anymore. And then again, I had another one where I was on a ship and the water rise was so intense that it flipped the ship over. And I kept being told not only was the ship going to sink because of the water rise, but now all of a sudden we were all in these flooded hallways of a ship and we were trying to climb through kind of like the Neptune adventure. Not so much, it wasn't so much like Titanic. It wasn't that kind of feeling. It was more like Neptune adventure. Or, no, I'm sorry, not Neptune, Poseidon. I'm tired. I haven't woken up yet. And now I'm really showing my age. Poseidon adventure. Look it up if you don't know what it is. And so 3 days in a row. The Poseidon adventure one was last night. The basin one was the night before. And the flooded house was the day before that. There's going to be a deluge of some kind coming. I don't know if it's going to be in the form of a tsunami. The three put together kind of makes me think that maybe that could be the case. Because two of them involved like big bodies of water, whereas the house one, I didn't know where the water was coming from. But yeah, so that's 3 days in a row. So that's important. Another thing that I had was that ice, tremendous amounts of ice. And ice that, let me put into context, it was so iced over. In my dream, I was at my childhood home, which is always interesting when I get dreams about that house because it was haunted. So it was a mansion. It was literally a mansion, 1864 mansion, but it was haunted. But that people were volunteering to park in my driveway. So somebody else had volunteered my house to park their vehicles in my driveway for some field trip. But the yard was covered in ice and the parking lot was covered in ice. And we had a little parking lot. And everything was covered in ice. We had a long, steep driveway. Everything was ice. And cars were hitting each other. And I was feeling as if this is my home. This is my safe space. And somebody else has volunteered it. And now there's all this calamity and these things that we could be sued for happening on my property because somebody else volunteered it. When I woke up, I was very upset about this. And there's a couple of other things that went on in the dream, but I think that has to do with other things. I was very upset about it because I felt invaded, I felt violated, and I felt like somebody was giving away my property. Take that for whatever you think that might be. It was all ice, which could be a very icy climate. It's kind of how I read that. And then I had another part of that dream, same night. That was last night. And I actually went to bed early last night. So it's not like I was like overtired or anything. That our little like local library, that we had two of them, and all of the bricks in the front of it had fallen off. And the people inside and the books inside were all exposed during this same icy weather. And that they're like, well, we're just going to get rid of them now. The libraries with the books. We're just going to get rid of them now because something had taken off the bricks in the front that protected those books. Another thing. Another. I'm going to read into that. I saw a fire truck that had, it was on fire. The fire truck was on fire and it was up on its back. And it was just, how is the fire truck going to save the fires? That was another thing. There was a house fire. Somebody lit a house fire inside my house and my family was trying to put it out. But then the fire truck was upside down the street, was upside down. How is the fire truck going to come and get to us? All symbolic, people, all symbolic. And there was a tandem tractor trailer truck. It was blue. That was a very bright, vibrant blue. The cab was blue. And again, it wanted to try and go up my steep, icy driveway. And I was like, why are you trying to bring this tandem trailer up an icy, windy driveway? You're never going to make it. And so it stopped and it wanted to go backwards to get a running start on the hill. And the trailer on the back half of it flipped over and was leaning and leaning and leaning. I'm like, that's not going to stand up. And then all of a sudden it was over. It was done. It was on the side. That wasn't going to go anywhere, but it was blocking the main street. I grew up on Main Street, blocking the main street. And so now we have a fire truck that was in the park down the road on fire. We had our library, had the bricks all torn down, same little street. We had a tandem tractor trailer truck blocking all of Main Street. We have my property being volunteered for a field trip, which I never found out what the field trip was for, but it was being volunteered for a field trip. And but it was just all of it. There's a lot more. There's so many more details, but I think some of them have to do with my own personal life. I don't think that they're meant for me to share with you. And keep in mind, I never shared this with you guys before. This is new for me. My whole life I've been like this. I've always just known what was coming and what was going on because my dreams are like this. I've always been like this. I've always been like this where, a week or two or sometimes a month ahead, I would look back and say, oh my God, I remember that dream. I had that dream. I remember this. So yeah, don't think that I'm just all of a sudden sharing dreams. I am all of a sudden sharing them, but I've always had them. I just never really shared them before because the reality is until it happens down the road, and I can't give you a time frame, that's not how I work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. And I can't prevent it. I can't stop it. All it does is I'm not looking to make you scared because there's no point in that. You can't live your life scared, but I feel like I've been given a heads up to prepare myself emotionally for what might be coming. And that's gold, to prepare yourself emotionally. That's gold. So yeah, take that for what it is. I know this video is getting a little bit long, but it's a predictive video. So, I tend to do well with those. And have a happy Sunday.